Oh, I have lipstick on my teeth. That's cute. I have no more I can say. It's just the best. Like, I don't know how it doesn't break down. Sorry, what? Is this says radiant finish on here? This is probably hands down my favorite liquid foundation. Make me look like airbrush flawless, poreless. I'm a porcelain doll. Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. So today marks the first day of 2021 that we're going to be talking about Best in Beauty. If you're new to my channel, my name is Caitlin, and this is Everything Beautiful, where we do product reviews, product hauls, we do product recommendations, tutorials, basically the whole makeup YouTube channel shebang. Everything you would typically expect. And along with that also comes my Best in Beauty. A lot of beauty channels across YouTube do this, and it's basically where we break down the absolute best products we have used, discovered in the whole entire year. So you're really getting the best of the best in these videos. I do also encourage you guys to check out, I will link it in my description box down below, best and faves of last year, as everything that I loved last year, I do still really enjoy. And so I do encourage you guys to check that out as well if you're looking for more product recommendations, as I did try to minimize repeats as much as possible. So even though I might still love those so much, I tried to find something that compares that I found this year. So when I'm talking about this category, I'm calling it face, not to be confused with cheek products. I'm specifically categorizing them. And so when I say face, I mean complexion products, primer, foundation, concealer, and powder and setting spray. I'm also going to be doing a cheek category where I'm talking about cream contours, cream blushes, bronzers, powder blush, highlight, and then I'll be doing eyes and lips as well. And I also may do like a kind of miscellaneous one where, there's tools and kind of hair stuff, body care. So there's so many really exciting videos to come in the next couple weeks. I do encourage you guys to hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of them. Without further ado, let's get right down to it. So we're kind of going in order of application, and I'm going to talk about primer first. So I've broken down the primers into 3 categories, and I've also tried to include as best as possible my favorite drugstore and high-end so that all price points are met in this video. The first one is high-end, and it is actually a sample size. I have found this sample to last me a very long time, but I also have gotten multiples. It's always the sample I choose through Sephora. It's just kind of like extending the period of time before I actually have to go and purchase this, because I definitely will be. And it is the One Size Secure the Blur Magnet Primer. Again, I apologize, it's mini. I will put up a picture here of what the full size looks like. So this one I really love because it is mattifying, but yet slightly feels hydrating at the same time. It does mattify the skin, it minimizes and reduces the appearance of shine, but it also feels like you're almost putting a light layer of really lightweight, almost gel-like moisturizer on. So it's really refreshing and really hydrating, yet still gives you that matte finish. So it's not drying to your skin at all. It is very smoothing to the skin. It is one of my favorite primers that mattifies and actually smooths. There's very few that I've found. It blurs the appearance of pores, minimizes pores, smooths the overall appearance of the skin, really extends the wear of my makeup, and I feel like I can get all day wear when I pair this with a good foundation. And then I have my drugstore option, which is probably my most loved find from the primer section, because I did just discover it this year, and it is obviously super affordable, and it is actually very comparable to the one that I just mentioned, and that is the L'Oreal Infallible Matte Lock Mattifying Primer. I'm almost out of this tube, and I only got it a couple months ago. I've used it on clients for weddings. It's that good. It is extremely mattifying. It does not dry the skin at all. It isn't maybe quite as hydrating as the One Size, but it does feel like you're applying a little bit of a moisturizer. It does feel like it doesn't feel like, those mattifying primers where you apply it and it almost feels like it's sucking all of the moisture out of your skin. This is not that at all. It's very creamy. And this one actually also is kind of smoothing. It's not quite as smoothing as the One Size. This one is very pore minimizing. This one gives kind of an overall smoothing of the skin and does prolong the wear of your makeup significantly. Definitely an incredible primer if you're looking for something to reduce shine, control shine. So moving on to more glowy, dewy, and hydrating primers. This is a primer that was actually discontinued this year. I was not going to include it, but I just thought there really was nothing else to include. There's no other high-end primer that is hydrating and glowy that I really like. Now, to be fair, I don't try a whole lot of really glowy primers, so there's very few that I actually have to recommend. So these two are the only ones that I could confidently say are really, really great. And this one is the Becca First Light Priming Filter. This is the purple primer that unfortunately is discontinued. This one is just so beautiful on the skin. It gives such a refreshing, hydrating, feel to the skin. It gives a boost of hydration without feeling heavy or overly like dewy. It has a beautiful citrusy scent, but very subtle. It just gives you a really like beautiful kind of glow without being overbearing. I've never found this affects the performance of my makeup. Now, if I'm going for like all day wear, this wouldn't be the one I'd go for because I would want a more mattifying one considering I'm more combination to oily. But if I'm looking for just, like an average amount of time, maybe 6 or 7, 8 hours, then I could go with this one, especially with a matte finish foundation. And my makeup still holds up for quite a bit of time. My drugstore option is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Face Primer. I find this one to be very similar to the Becca. Now this one is quite a bit glowier. It has quite a bit more like shimmer to it. I'll show you here. Woo, that was a lot of product. So I'm gonna rub it into the skin here and you will see like it's quite shimmery, not shimmery, like glowy. But once you actually rub it in, it actually has quite a similar effect. It feels hydrating on your skin, but it's not overly heavy or dewy. Or I still don't find, especially once you put foundation on, to be overly glowy. It actually gives you really beautiful like sheen to your skin and it looks so nice, lightweight, and again, I have never found it to affect the performance of my makeup. It just has never broken down my foundation, which is great. So the next category is smoothing primers. So these are specific primers that I look for to make me look like airbrush flawless, poreless. I'm a porcelain doll. And I had to include it. It's the Tarte Timeless Primer. It is actually better than Professional. I have done a side-by-side and Professional is great. I personally do really like that primer, but this one is even better. I find this one is even more smoothing and it lasts a little bit longer, like throughout the day. I do have the One Size primer on right now, and then I popped a little bit of this in my areas that I'm extra enlarged pores and texture, and this one is like magical. You look like you have zero pores and it's magical. Like I don't even know how it does it. Now I recommend using a small amount because if you do put a lot on, it might pill up. So you just want to do a little bit. It's quite a thick texture and it's quite silicone-y. So if you're against silicone, you won't love this, but let me tell you, it's worth it. And I've honestly never had it break down my foundation, so I've personally had no issues with it. It is actually also a little bit mattifying too. It doesn't dry out the skin, but it is a little bit mattifying. Because I wanted to include drugstore, this is the first repeat from last year, and it is the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer because it is just about the only primer from the drugstore I've tried that actually genuinely really smooths out your skin and your pores. It's also quite mattifying and it does help prolong the wear of your makeup. So it's a little bit of like an all-in-one. It's not nearly as good as the Tarte. There's really nothing that compares to the Tarte in terms of smoothing, but it is definitely the best from the drugstore from what I have tested. Moving on to foundation, we have a few categories as well, and the first one is matte finish. So this is probably hands down my favorite liquid foundation. ever. It's the one I grab the most. It is the one I grab when I'm looking for all day wear, no transfer. And it is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation. This is magic in a bottle. Like, look at the packaging. It's so beautiful. And the reason I love this is, number one, it's very matte, but it's not drying. It doesn't make your skin look flat and dry. It still makes your skin look nice and healthy, doesn't dry out your skin and make your skin feel dry and tight. So it's actually very smoothing to the skin, yet still matte finish. It is beautiful on the skin, has really good medium to full, very buildable coverage. And it also is all day wear. It's probably one of the most, it is actually probably the longest wearing foundation in my collection. Especially for my skin type being more oily. It controls my shine. It's very long wearing. It's beautiful on the skin, coverage and finish. So I recommend it 100%. And then my matte drugstore foundation is the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage, which is my second duplicate from last year. I tried a couple drugstore matte finish foundations this year and I liked them, but there's really none that I love. The Catrice HD Liquid is kind of natural finish to matte finish, but it is quite mattifying. It's very long wearing, has a good medium and very buildable coverage. You can get it to full coverage, but you have to build it. I do find it's really, really beautiful and smoothing on the skin as well. It doesn't dry out your skin. It's stunning. It's very good. It's maybe not quite as long wearing as this guy right here. As I told you, this is like probably the longest wearing foundation I've ever tried from my experience, but it's pretty close. So then we have the hydrating foundations, the radiant finish, the dewy. So the first one is the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better Foundation Plus Skincare, and I personally think this is a very underrated product. I don't really ever see anybody talking about this. This is the best, hands down the best radiant finish foundation I've ever tested on my combination oily skin. It is hydrating without making your skin feel really heavy, oily, overly dewy. It has really, really incredible skincare ingredients. So it's not only going to make your skin look nice, it's actually going to improve the look of your skin, your actual bare skin. If you're actually using it every day or frequently, I mix up my foundations too many times. I have too many foundations to just use one all the time. So I've never really paid attention to that, but I've heard great reviews on that. It has good quality ingredients, so that's always good to see. And it is extremely lightweight. It is a good medium coverage and pretty buildable. And it has a beautiful, beautiful radiant finish. It looks so stunning on the skin. But the best thing about this is it is extremely long wearing. When I tested this, I was like, sorry, what? Is this says radiant finish on here? It's not, it's what? I've gone 12 hours and it didn't break down. It looked beautiful. I got a bit of a shine, but I touched it up and it looked pretty good. I can wear this all day and it's not looking like a hot, oily mess. I could not believe it. So this is definitely hands down the best radiant finish foundation I've ever tested, especially for those of you that are looking for something not matte all the time, but are oily. And so you have to kind of be careful what you're actually using, especially if you're looking for all day wear. Now, my drugstore find is maybe not quite as incredible as this baby, because not only is this one beautiful, but it all day wear, which is what I can't believe. This one here is the Catrice True Skin Hydrating Foundation. Now this is an overly hyped, it is a holy grail to a lot of people. It is very well known around YouTube right now. And to be fair, it's for a good reason. It's a beautiful foundation. It's actually the one that I'm wearing today. And it is absolutely stunning. It has super great coverage. It is full coverage for sure, as you can see. And I have breakouts and scarring right now. So for me to look this full coverage, one of the best foundations in terms of coverage from the drugstore I've tried. And it has a beautiful finish to it. Now I've obviously packed on powder because I am oily and because that's just what I like to do. But it still has a beautiful, it doesn't look dry at all. It looks so nice and smooth. It looks beautiful on the skin. It covers well. Now, the only downside is I find for my combination to oily skin, it doesn't hold up quite as well as I'd like. It does develop a shine around 6 to 8 hours. And I do find for all day wear, I do have to mix this one with a matte finish so that it kind of can balance. Like, it still has that beautiful radiant finish, but it's also going to wear all day. So if you are trying this and you find it's not holding up to your oils, I encourage you guys to try it mixed in with your favorite matte finish foundation. Kind of do half and half or whatever ratio you find to work for you. It really does help extend the wear. And you know, you might find some of them don't work. Not all foundations work well together. So it's kind of like trial and error, but if you find foundations that work well together, it's a beautiful effect, especially if you're oily and you want to wear some radiant finish. If you are normal to dry, this is perfect for you. One of the best foundations. But if you are combo to oily, just beware, you might have to mix it with matte finish if you're looking for all day wear. The next category is CC creams. So these are color correcting creams, which are basically foundations. I've never really tried too many CC creams, but this one here from IT Cosmetics is definitely the one to be beat right now. Still, it's been a favorite for a very long time. It has beautiful full coverage. It has really beautiful hydrating ingredients, very similar to this one right here, but this one is a little bit more dewy and a little bit more full coverage. I don't find this one lasts as long as this one, and it's also a little heavier, but it's so beautiful on the skin. It has SPF. It really is a stunning product, and the drugstore version I find to be very comparable is the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream. Again, color correcting, full coverage, natural finish with those beautiful skincare ingredients and SPF. Now this one has SPF 30, but still really great and much more affordable. It does wear really well. It's not all day wear for me. I find CC creams, I think, have a little bit too much hydration in them for my skin, but these are really beautiful. So if you're normal to dry, you could definitely get away with them. If you are combo to oily, definitely pair it with a good mattifying primer, mattifying setting spray, and I think you could definitely get away with it, especially if you're looking for like 8 and less hours. And then the last fave foundation of the year is in the tint category. So this is from Tarte, and it is the C Hydro Flex. It's called a serum foundation, but I would consider it more of like a tint. It's a lighter coverage product. This is for those people that are not looking for full coverage. You just want something easy, simple, quick, just like a blurring kind of effect, similar to the Fenty Ease Drops, but this one I find to be a lot more long wearing. It has really, really nice coverage. It's buildable. It's hydrating without feeling heavy. And I find it's actually really, really, really long wearing. It is all day wear for me. I can build it up, apply a little bit of concealer so I get more coverage. It looks pretty good in terms of coverage, especially if I spot conceal. And then it wears all day. It's super lightweight. And it has really, really great ingredients included in it. So again, another one you just can't go wrong with. So moving on to the next category is concealer. So I just wanted to do a quick mention to this one because I have to. It's a holy grail, and that is the Tarte Shape Tape. This one will never be beat. It's the one I'm wearing today. It's one of the most full coverage concealers I've ever tried. It's matte finish, so it's gonna hold up all day. Matte finish, not too drying, high coverage, the best of all worlds. Now, if you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit less matte, because it can be quite matte, so especially if you have mature, really dry skin, it might be a little bit too matte for you. My favorite is the Born This Way multi-use sculpting concealer, and this is one that I've really fallen in love with this year specifically. So this is almost pretty darn close in terms of coverage to Tarte. It has really, really great full coverage concealer. It is a little bit more creamy and a little bit less matte, so I find it's a little easier to work with, and it's a little bit less drying. Now, I personally have no issues with the Tarte. I don't find it very drying. Oh, I have lipstick on my teeth. That's cute. I don't know how long that was on, so sorry guys. It's very, very long wearing, just like the Tarte. It is, as I said, a little more creamy, a little more natural finish, a little bit less matte. Very smoothing to the skin as well. I really, really, really love this concealer. Definitely one of my favorites. And then my favorite drugstore foundation. I keep wanting to say foundation. My favorite drugstore concealer, and as you can see, I've been loving it, is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. Now, I really have loved the Camo Concealer, but I found a lot of times it can be a little bit drying to my skin. I found sometimes it can get a little bit cakey on me, and it's just not the best. And so I was like, nah, this isn't it. So I tried the hydrating one, and it changed my life. This one is medium to full buildable coverage. It has an incredible satin finish, so it's not completely matte. It's not completely radiant and dewy. It's kind of nice in the middle. It's kind of more hydrating and creamy for those people that have more dry under eyes. So it's not too drying, kind of like the OG formula. I found that one to be a little bit drying. You had a lot less time to blend out, a lot quicker drying time. So this one is a lot more easy to use, and it is very long wearing. I find it actually looks a lot more natural on the skin, a lot less heavy on the skin, and it actually never looks cakey. Whereas as I said, I found the OG formula to be a little bit cakey on me sometimes. So this one to me is the best of the best from the drugstore that you can get. I have yet to find one from the drugstore that can top it. And last but not least, I had to mention the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. This is hands down the best concealer you can buy anywhere in the whole world if you are looking to spot conceal. If you have blemishes, age spots, dark spots, any type of spot you're trying to conceal, you will love this. It's creamy, it's a little bit thicker, so it's hard to describe. I find it kind of is easier to camouflage the blemish instead of just like trying to build coverage. Like, it actually smooths out. It's a little creamier. It's not liquid, so it's not gonna dry to the texture. It kind of sits over top, and it really, really does help smooth out the area, and it has incredible coverage. There's nothing that will beat it. I will be surprised if we find something better. And it's also really long wearing, so that's always great when you have blemishes. So we're on to powders. So let's start with powder foundation, since we just finished foundation and concealer. And the first product that is like magical, and I think I've fallen in love with, is the One Size powder foundation. You can see right here that I love it. I've hit pan already, and I don't do that very often because I have a lot of makeup. So this is number one, as I said, kind of magical. It is one of the most smoothing products I've ever found, aside from like the Tarte primer, but this is a powder, and it literally makes you look like a doll. You're poreless, you're smooth, there's no texture. It doesn't emphasize your pores or your texture. It's really, really, really smoothing, and I absolutely love it. It has full, very buildable coverage, and it's really, really long wearing. So I have worn it for 12 hours. The only thing is my oils do poke through, but it never breaks down and it never creases. It's the wildest thing, especially worn alone. Like, you can go all day. It touches up beautifully. So if you have a little sponge or a brush and you want to just touch up your T-zone, if it does develop a shine, it is magical. Like, I don't know how it doesn't break down. I'm like, what? I was like super shiny the one day, and I just touched it up and it looked like it was like 9 a.m. again. And then the drugstore fave is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-hour powder foundation. Now this one is pretty much everything I just said about the One Size. Good full coverage powder foundation. It's very smoothing to the skin. It looks really, really nice, but it doesn't quite hold up to my oils like the One Size does. It does break down a little bit easier. So if you are oily to combination, just beware. You will definitely want to pair it with a good mattifying primer and setting spray. If you're oily to combo, I'd honestly just recommend this one. But if you don't have the money to invest, then this one is still really good. We also have loose powders, which is my personal favorite. And my absolute favorite of my whole entire life, I don't know how it will be beat, and it's from the drugstore, which is amazing, is the Maybelline Fit Me. This is actually all gone, and I'm really sad about it, and I have to go get more like tonight. I don't know what I'm gonna do without it. And the reason I love this is it's pigmented, so it adds a little bit of coverage, but I find powders that are a little bit pigmented are the best for baking because you actually can create like lines. So if you're sculpting out your, you know, underneath your contour, it actually shows up and builds, and it actually does what baking is supposed to do. It's also really, really smoothing. It gives you poreless skin. It prolongs the wear of your makeup. It doesn't accentuate texture or lines under the eyes to a certain extent. Like if you have really mature skin, loose powder is probably not for you. But if you do like loose powder, this is the best. It's the best. It's the best. I have no more I can say. It's just the best. Now, one that I find very similar, I actually prefer the Maybelline, but I do really, really love this one, and it is more high-end, so it's a lot more expensive, but it is definitely still worth the price, is the Laura Mercier. This one still is my favorite. These two powders were last year's favorites. That's how much I love these two. There's nothing that will beat them. And this one I love also for the very same reasons. Good for baking, smoothing to the skin, doesn't accentuate texture, doesn't dry your skin, it prolongs the wear of your makeup, and it has a nice matte finish. Now for pressed powder, if you're more mature or if you just don't really like loose powder, then I recommend the Charlotte Tilbury. Now this one is the only pressed powder I like right now. I've never really found one that I like this one. This one is incredibly smoothing to the skin. It adds just a tiny bit of coverage. It doesn't accentuate texture or fine lines. It's very lightweight, easy and quick considering it's just in a compact. And it has a nice matte finish, but it's not super matte. So it doesn't look dry at all. It doesn't lock in my makeup quite as well as my loose powders, but I do find if I'm looking for a pressed powder, this is the one I go to every time. I even go for this on a day I don't wear makeup. I just pop it on and I find it kind of smooths out my skin. Just gives me a little bit of like a blurred filter effect. It's really, really beautiful. And then because I didn't have a drugstore pressed powder, because I have never really found one I really like, I thought I would include this baby. It's another loose powder, so I'm cheating, but this is the Coty Airspun. I actually have liked this for a while. For some reason, I just stopped using it and I started using it again. It's the one I'm wearing today. And I forgot how much I liked it. It is very similar to the last two loose powders. It's maybe a little bit finer than the other two, but it's still very good for baking, very smoothing to the skin, prolongs the wear of your makeup, matte finish without making your skin look dry. Now this one has quite a potent smell to it. It's very strong. So if you're very against fragrance, I totally don't recommend it, but if you're not super sensitive to it, it doesn't linger for that long. Like it does go away. And it's a really beautiful powder, and it's much more affordable than like this one right here. So if you can't afford Laura Mercier, then either the Maybelline or the Coty Airspun are the way I would go. So the last category is setting spray. And my absolute favorite setting spray that I found this year is the Professional Super Setter. This one is kind of like an all-in-one. Like it almost kind of revives your skin, gives you a little boost of hydration, but it also mattifies the skin, prolongs the wear of your makeup, kind of really sets all your makeup in together so it looks really nice and smooth. It is an incredible mister. I would show you, but I'm actually all out. So I need to go buy a new one of this. It is so good. I recommend it for sure. And I like that it comes in a mini, so you can try it out before you go full on with the full size and spend $1 million. But it's definitely worth it. If you want to buy a full size, you will love it. And if you're looking for a little bit more of a mattifying one, which this one is very mattifying, but if you're looking for one that is specifically for controlling shine, Slay All Day by Gerard Cosmetics is the way to go. This is the best one I find for oily skin. It prolongs the wear of your makeup. It really sets down your makeup to a nice matte finish without making your skin look dry. They do come in a very beautiful array of scents. The setting spray I've been really enjoying from the drugstore lately is from L'Oreal, and it is the Infallible Pro Spray and Set. So it's a makeup extender. It does mattify the skin, extend the wear of your makeup, give you a little boost. You know, kind of everything I just said about these two. Those are my favorites of the year. I finally got through it. So I hope you guys enjoyed, found this helpful, found some product recommendations. If you have any questions about these products, I will be looking at the comments below. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to give me a thumbs up down below, subscribe. I also have a giveaway going on, so don't miss it. The info is in the description box. And I will link all the products down below in case you guys want to go ahead and purchase, because I recommend all of them thoroughly, like thoroughly. Happy holidays. I will see you again before Christmas, but I'll say it anyways. If you're interested in this little holiday look here, then stay tuned. It'll be up on Saturday. I will see you guys next time. Bye.